Okay, let's get started. And in this first lesson we will prepare a background for our composition. The first thing what we need to do is create a new document. Go to the menu, File New, and create new document. The size will be 1600 pixels wide and 2500 pixels high. Then click the Create button. And now we need to copy our photos from the material folder. Open the folder and we take the first image and just drag it here, something like this. Next we rotate it and stretch it a little bit. Okay, do not forget to hold down the Shift key so that the aspect ratio of the image does not change. Okay, something like that. And move it a little bit. Also, let's right click on the image and select the flip horizontal. Move it and press Enter key. And now we can delete the background layer. We don't need it anymore. Double click on the layer and click OK. And press the Delete button. Alright, in the next step we will create a depth of field. To do this we need to blur the background layer. We go to the menu, Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and set the radius to 20 pixels and click OK. We go next. Now we start adding branches and flowers to the background layer. We open a folder with the images and choose an image that you like. Maybe this, for example. We place it in our document, rotate it, move it in the corner and press Enter. Okay, now we go to the filter and select here a Gaussian blur and blur this layer. In this case we set the smaller radius for this filter, about 10 pixels, and click OK. Next, open other image with flowers and drag them into our document. We put it here in the left corner, something like that. And we also need to blur this layer. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur and hit OK. The next step, select one more image with a flower and repeat all previous actions. Copy, place it in our document, filter, go to blur, and OK. And finally the last image, drag it into our document, move it on the top of the document, rotate, something like that. OK, press Enter and go to the filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Hit OK. Excellent, and now our background is ready, and now we can put the model here and continue working with our photo manipulation. But before that, let's merge the layers with flowers and branches into a separate group. To do this, we select a top layer, hold the Shift key and select a bottom layer. Then we press Ctrl J and we get a new group. Rename this group, double click and type something like this. for example flowers. Okay, on this our first lesson is finished and I'm waiting for you in the second lesson. Okay, now we are starting the second lesson, and now we will add a model to our composition. Open the folder with the images and drag the photo with the model into our document. To make it more convenient for us to place the model on a new background, we can reduce the transparency of the layer with the model approximately to 50%. Once we make sure that everything is fine and the model is in the right place, we will return the transparency to 100%. OK, and press the Enter key. OK, let's continue. And in the next step we need to cut out the model from the old background. To do this I like using the pen tool, but you can use any other tool that you like. OK, now I select the pen tool and start to make a selection. I start make selection from the head of the model, and then I go to the next areas. So my selection area is ready, and now we also need to remove unnecessary areas inside this selection. The first area is between the sword and the head of the model, and the second area is near the hands of the model. Now we right click on the select area and select the Make Selection. OK. Then click OK, and now we need to remove unnecessary areas. OK, let's select the pen tool again and create new selection. When we made a selection of the inner area, we make right click on it and choose Make a Selection. In this case we select the Subtract from Selection option, find this option and press OK. In the next step we repeat the sections for the second area. We also make a selection with the pen tool and then we subtract it. Alright, now we have the right selection, and now let's take a look at our image to make sure that we did not make mistakes when create the selection. Look at the image, everything fine, and the next step is go to the menu, select and choose Select and Mask. With this tool we can refine edges of our selection. Look at the image, choose a white color for the background, so that you can better see all the problem areas in the image. Choose a white background and go next. In this case our selection looks good and I do not see any problems on it. So let's add a little feathering to make the model look more realistic on a new background. Set the feather radius to 1 pixel, then choose the output option and select a new layer with the mask. And click OK. Now we can remove the bottom layer, choose it and press the Delete button. And rename the top layer. delete copy and press enter. Okay, on this second lesson is complete. See you in the third lesson. So, we continue to work with our photo manipulation, and in this lesson we need to edit the model, adjust the contrast and lighten the skin. So, the first thing what we need to do is create a new adjustment layer. Click on the icon and select Levels. With this tool we adjust the contrast of the image. Drag the black slider to the right and set the value to about 40. Something like this. Okay. Drag the gray slider to the left, like this. Okay. And the white slider we do not change. Okay. Close this adjustment layer. Next, we hold the Alt key, move the arrow to the border between the layers and make left click on it. So, now we attach the adjustment layer to the layer with the model. At the next step, we will lighten the skin of the model. Now we need to merge all the layers into a new copy. Press Shift Ctrl Alt E, and now we made a new layer. Attach it to the layer with the model, Alt key and click on the border between the layers. Okay, after that we need to desaturate the top layer. For this, press the hotkey Shift Ctrl U or go to the menu, Image, Adjustment and find the Desaturate. Change the blending mode to the screen and reduce the transparency to 80%. Okay. Now add the mask to this layer, click here and fill this mask with the black. To do this, pick the black color on the palette and press the hotkey Alt-Del. After that, we select the brush tool, set the brush hardness to 0. Okay. And with this tool we need to draw on the mask only areas with the skin. Draw accurately, try not to go to other areas of the image. Something like this. Do not paint over the lips to leave them more saturated. Okay. And don't forget to paint over the hands. Okay. Look at the image. Before and after. Okay. The next step, we add brightness contrast adjustment layer. Go to the settings of this layer and set the brightness to about 20 and set the contrast to 10. Close this layer and attach it to the layer with the model. Okay, then fill the mask with black, select the black color on the palette and press the hotkey Alt-Delete. And with the brush, paint over only areas with the skin. Okay, like this, and on the hands. Okay. Before and after. Now let's create another adjustment layer. In this case it is the hue saturation layer. We go to the settings and reduce the saturation to -15. Okay. Also attach this layer to the model, hold the Alt key and left click on the border between the layers. Next, we will fill the layer mask with black color and then take the white brush. Also draw only on the skin of the model. Something like this. Okay. And paint over the hands. Okay. Let's take a look at the result before and after. Okay. Well, now it's time to add few flowers to the foreground to create a depth of field in the image. We go to the materials, drag the image and place it here. Okay, rotate it and place it something like this. Okay. Press the Enter key and go to the filter Blur, Gaussian Blur, and blur this layer about 8 pixels. After that, we click OK. Excellent. Now the layers that are attached to the model layer we will merge into a separate group. We choose them, hold Shift, click on the top layer and on the bottom layer, and create group. OK. On this third lesson is finished and I'm waiting for you in the next lesson. So, we go next. And now it's time to work with color on the image. The first thing what we need to do is to increase the color saturation in the photo. To do this, we create a hue saturation adjustment layer. And in this case, I drag the saturation slider to the right. Set the value about 15, just like this, and close this layer. Now we made our photo is most saturated. In the next step, we create a selective color adjustment layer. Click on the icon and find a selective color. Go to Cyan channel and drag all sliders to 100. Drag the first slider, second, third, and the last slider, just like this. After that, we go to the blue channel, and here we also set the all sliders to the maximum. Except yellow slider, we drag it to the left, like this. Okay. Now we close this adjustment layer, and let's take a look at the image, before and after. Okay. Let's go next, and we create one more hue saturation adjustment layer. Now we need to work with the green areas on the image. I want to change the green color. To do this, I select the eyedropper tool and click on the green area on the image. Click on the image. And now I have a color range in this area on the scale. That I was better see which pixels we have selected, I increase the saturation to 100. And now I see all the active pixels. Now let's reduce the color range a little bit, just like that. Okay. After that, return the saturation value to 0 and change the color of green areas on the image. Just like this. Adjust the color as you like, something like that. We can also reduce the saturation so that the leaves are not so bright. And edit the color range a little bit. Okay. Close this layer. And now on the mask we need to remove color from the skin of the model. We choose the brush tool and pick the black color on the palette. Then we erase color areas from the skin of the model, something like that. Okay, erases all areas, before and after. Perfect. We go further, and the next step, we create another hue saturation adjustment layer. Okay, and this time we will slightly edit the color on the clothes. We change the color of the pattern on the clothes. Select the eyedropper tool and click on the green area on the clothes. Drag the saturation slider to 100 and see which pixels have become active. Okay, if necessary, we edit the color range, and after that we return the saturation back to 0. Next, take the top slider and drag it to the left around -180, and let's raise the brightness a little bit, up to about 30, like that. Okay. In addition, we reduce the saturation because the pattern on the clothes are too saturated. Okay, close this layer and go next. Let's see what we changed, before and after. And at the next step, we create a curves adjustment layer. With this tool, we will create a vignette. We drag the curve down, something like that. Okay, close this adjustment layer and select the brush tool. Make sure that the brush hardness is set to 0 and that you have select a black color in the palette. After that, increase the size of the brush and make a click in the center of the image. And this was the last step in this lesson. Let's merge all adjustment layers in the group. Rename this group and move on to the next lesson. So let's go next, and in this lesson we will add flying petals around the model. But before we start, let's reduce the saturation of the sky in the left corner. Let's go to the color folder and create here new hue saturation adjustment layer and reduce the saturation value to -15. Okay, something like this. That's it. Now we fill the mask of this layer with black. I click hotkey Alt Delete and select the white brush. Then I pen the area with the sky in the top left corner of our image. Just like this. Okay, that will be enough. Close the group and go to the next step. Let's open the folder with the materials and find our petal here. Drag it into Photoshop and open it as a new document. We copy it, Ctrl-A, Ctrl-C, and place in our document. Hit Ctrl-V. Now we need to create many petals. Before we start to copy the petals, let's desaturate it to make it white. To do this, you can press the hotkey Shift Ctrl-U or go to the image adjustment desaturate. And as a result we get a white petal. And now we change the size of it, something like this, rotate it and drag it down a little bit. Okay, then I copy it to create even more petals. To copy the layer, we press the hotkey Ctrl-J. To make the petals look more realistic, move them, change the size and shape with the free transform tool. To select this tool, you hit a hotkey Ctrl-T. After we have created few layers with the petals, let's merge them into one layer, so it will be easier for us to edit them. We select all layers with the petals and press the hotkey Ctrl-E. After that, we duplicate this new layer and create even more petals around the model. With the free transformation tool we change the size and shape of this layer to get many different petals. Just like this. Rotate it, move it on the different places on the image. Just like this. Maybe this. Hit the enter and place it here. OK. Duplicate the layer. Flip horizontal and move it here. Just like that. OK. The next step is to blur the layers with the petals to create a realistic depth of field in the frame. We go to the filter blur, Gaussian blur and blur these layers. For the best result it's better to use a different blur value from 2 to 6 pixels for each layer. For the first layer we set the radius about 3 pixels. For a second layer we set the radius about 6 pixels. And for the third layer we set the radius maybe 2 pixels. Just like this. OK. Then we copy the layers with the petals in a separate group, rename this group, and on this our lesson is finished. So friends, we come to the final stage of our work, and now we will once again edit the contrast and sharpen the image. The first thing what we need to do is to focus attention in the center of the image. To do this, we will create a vignette. We create a curves adjustment layer and drag the curve down like this. OK, close this layer. After that, we select the brush tool, make sure the hardness set to 0 and the black color on the palette. After that, we paint over the center of our image like this. OK. And now let's see before and after. Looks good. Now we will sharpen our image. To do this, we create a merged copy of our layers. We press the Shift Alt Ctrl E, get a new layer, and now go to the filter Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. Here we see the few values. In this case, I set the amount to 100, set the radius about 2 pixels and then click OK. And now let's take a look at the result before and after. Our photo became more clear and sharp. And it was the final step. Our composition is complete, and I hope you enjoy this course and you were pleased with the final result. Thank you for watching and see you in the next courses.